right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to 46th Broadway. My name is Shaun Blanch, and I'm here with...
Amir Ilyasov.
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about Amir's new album today, Sound SpaceTime, that he's just released on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere where music is streaming, you can find it. So thanks for joining us today, Amir.
Thanks, dude. It was great to see you.
It's great to see you, my friend. So we're going to get into a little bit of his background first. Why don't we start with just your general music background, Amir? Tell us how you got started into music, what inspired you to get going, and then your journey through music.
Okay. Well, I think you know, my dad is a musician, and he's classically trained. He's been in a band, very famous back in the Soviet Union. Been in a band for a long time, so I grew up around music. I've always listened to music, and when I was 15, I started playing on my dad's instrument. Actually, I remember the first track I ever made was I remade the Spider-Man theme from the 1990s
Cool.
animated series. So
Very nice.
it was really cool. So I just started tinkering and then continued doing it. Was really into it. And then over the years, on and off, is just stuck with it. Always moved my studio wherever I went. I moved around a lot. And, one of the things that I always look for whenever I move into a new house is a room for the studio, because
Sure.
I need I need that space.
That's important.
It's my escape.
Absolutely.
But that's how it started.
Okay. So your dad was the original musician of the family, and did it get passed down from his dad as well, or was this sort of the first generation?
Well, actually, my mom is a musician too. She's
Okay.
a classically trained pianist, and so both of them. But my mom's parents are not musicians. My dad, I think, yeah, my dad's side, there's some music there as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so you got inspired from your dad. Did you all play together at all?
I was never good enough to play with my dad.
Oh,
I was a sound engineer. I was the guy plugging the wires and carrying the speakers. But there've been a couple of times. We recorded a few things together, but I'm always the one recording him.
got it. Got it. So that brings us into music production. So you decided to travel down that path and getting to sound engineering and producing. So talk a little bit about why that was something that, aside from, as you put it, not doing the whole performance aspect of it, but what was it about recording and mixing and all these things that really attracted you to it?
Well, Sean, as you know, I'm not a very good musician. I'm not very good at instruments. I find that I'm better at the computer. So I've kind of always wanted to program music, and I like tinkering. I like finding sounds and making them sound better. So that's how I got into it, and that's really what I pursued.
Okay. Got it. So with that, what is your, or do you have an approach when it comes to recording sound engineering? Do you have like a sort of process that you follow?
That's a good question. I used to think, well, you got to have the lyrics first. And then I changed that and say, no, you have to have a good melody first. And I think in the beginning, when I just started, I would just start with the beat, because I did a lot of like beat focused music in the beginning, because I really didn't know how to put a song together. So today I start with a melody. So usually a melody gets things going for me. And then from there, I start to add parts that come natural. That's my approach to music. For now. That may change.
So it's kind of morphed over the years, and you're comfortable with your current approach.
Not at all. I'm not comfortable at all, because I always feel like I'm missing something, or I don't know what I'm doing. But I always try to find, in music, you don't want to be too rigid, right? You don't want to be too, stuck in one way, because you never know where inspiration is going to come from. So I try to experiment with sounds and see where it goes from there. Because if I like a sound, then I see, well, maybe this could be a cool bass line, or this could be a really cool drum track. or man, this sounds like a really great, snare. Let me build a song around the snare. So that's how I approach it now. It's all about the sound.
Got it. Whatever sort of inspires you in the moment. Sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's you something like, and I think this whole album is about that familiar feeling. So when a sound gives me like some familiar feeling of something I've heard before, where that sounds like that synth from that song. I like
Mm.
it. Let me see what I can do with it, and then that usually drives my production.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So good segue into the album itself. First of all, how long have you been working on the album? What was the genesis of it? Like, how did it come about in the first place?
So I actually released my first album last year, and 2019, and I released it because that was just one of my goals for the year.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't think it was what it could have been. I think I rushed it because I wanted to just get it out to meet my goal. And then when I did it and I released it, and this was now 2020, I still had some files, some tracks left over. And I just started experimenting because I realized that my musical chops and my technical chops needed to be better. So I started studying. I watched a lot of videos. I read books, listened to a lot of music, and I started experimenting. And through that experimentation, I ended up completing like 8 or 9 tracks, and they came out really good. So that's what led me to release this record, because what I found is a lot of them were in a different style, but also it was a improved quality of music. And I think being a solo independent artist, the last thing your friends want to hear is a crappy mix, a crappy song, something that sounds amateur. So, and that was my fear with my first album. And I think I'm the worst critic of myself, but I think this album really plays in a different ball game. And I was just happy to release it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, for those of you who don't know us, Amir and I go a bit back, and you were the first person that I actually recorded with outside of some stuff back home in Tampa. And so I've seen your skills sort of grow over the years, and your mixing and production
Right.
kind of get up to the next level. So I can definitely attest to that.
You've also seen my horrible drum skills.
It's not that
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Yeah. No, so we're gonna focus on the good stuff today.
Yeah. Don't bring it up.
Yeah. So you mentioned one of the things that you do now is you come up with melodies, and in some cases you build the track around the melody. Again, not that everything is going to be process oriented questions, but talk a little bit about how you come up with melodies. Is it, do you get inspiration as you're listening to something else and you start hearing something in your mind? Do you play around on the keyboard and then just see what you can come up with in the moment? Like, what does that look like?
So for anyone who's a musician, this is advice that I read from some books. Actually, Mixerman. There's a book, the Zen and the Art of Mixing, and there's Zen and the Art of Production. There was like these books, and there was a bunch of other books. But one of the tips that I read and learned about was to carry. We all carry our phone, so if an idea comes to mind, just record it. So for a while, I was just walking around, like back in New York City, I would be on the train full of people, and then an idea comes to mind, and I'm like, I'm like, and then people are like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" So I would just capture different ideas, and then when I would get into the studio, I would pull it up and I'd just like look through. I'm like, "Oh, that's a cool one," and then I try to replicate it. With different sounds, and that was one way I would come up with melodies. Another way is just like I said, you find a sound that you like, and then add effects to it. And sometimes you put a delay on it, and that delay makes it sound really cool. And then I just start to play different progressions, different chords, and hit something that really sounds great, gives me a little bit of a chill. I'm like, all right, I think I could do this. So I record it. I record it right there and build on top of that. And then I usually go back and tweak it, make it a little better, make it a little more interesting, create more variation. And throughout the process, and then I usually get to a point where I'm just very happy with the melody. But I think melody in itself is, it sounds like a melody is like, oh, it's like this whole long thing. No, a melody could be just a couple of keys. So like one of the tracks, later, for example, right? The melody there is like 3 different notes. But it's about timing, right? And it's just how it flows with the rest of the track. So I think it's about feeling for me almost all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. In that process, so it sounds like sometimes you'll start with maybe a basic melody, but then you'll sort of build upon it. When do you feel like it's finished?
Never finished. My grandma once told me a good artist knows how to forgive himself. You just get to a point where you can ruin it. So to avoid that, you just have to give up. You just have to say, you know what? This is what it is. And you go. I mean, you technically it should sound good, right? Balance, the mix, frequencies. Like, I don't want to get all technical, but there's too much time is spent doing frequencies for me. But at some point, you just say, it sounds good, makes sense, it's musically logical. Let it go. Just let it go, man.
I feel you.
I don't know, do you ever have that?
I would say our process for creating melodies is similar. I also get ideas and will jot it down on my phone real quick. And then for me, I always feel like writing a song or creating a melody is like getting to know someone in a way. When you first meet, you have a very basic idea of who that person is. And then as you meet them more and more, spend more time with them, you get to know them a lot better. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's how like writing a song or creating melodies is, right? It's like when you first create it, you're strangers. And then over time, you get a lot more intimately familiar. And then eventually, as you said, you get to a point where it's like, this is it. It's not going to go any farther than this, right? I've done it. So
what about like
kind of similar?
What about like when, let's say you finished a melody, right? And I know you've been doing a lot of recording and mixing. Listen to your track, Johnny. It's awesome. Very happy about that one. But so when you're mixing, when you're actually working in the studio and making it better, I know that you probably listen to the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Do you find it that you fall in love with it more, or do you like lose interest in it the more you listen to it?
Sure. Well, I've much like you, I've been spending a lot of time studying some of this stuff, and Butch Vig, who's the producer who produced the Nevermind album for Nirvana, he said something that really resonated with me, which is that when a song first comes together and you've got everything, you've got the vocal track, you've got all the instruments, even before you've gotten really far into mixing it, but once all that stuff is recorded and put together, that's the best moment for recording. That's where the biggest high hits. And then, you listen to it another 200 times after that as you're tinkering with it, putting all the bells and whistles and mixing, etc. And by that point, as I'm sure you can relate to, you're like, I don't want to keep listening to this. I'm tired of hearing this at this point. But you also, as you mentioned before, you want to make sure it's the best quality that it can be before you let other people hear it. Because you don't want to rush it and then something happens. So sometimes it's good to kind of just take a break, right? Maybe let it sit for a week and come back to it with fresh ears.
Yeah.
And pick it up from there.
Yeah, because I mean, we spend hours, listening to the same, like, and you're just like making slight adjustments, like.
Yeah.
My cat.
That no one will ever pay attention to.
Never. Like, nobody will ever notice.
But you'll know it's there.
You'll know it's there. Like, and then what I find is you do your ears and your senses, they get numb to what you're hearing after a while. So you stop hearing the little things. And then what happened several times when in the making of this album is I would come back to it a month later and I would listen to it knowing that I wasn't done. But I play it and it sounds great. I'm like, oh, I think I'm done. It's like, but there's always something else to fix. But stepping away is so important, because the first time you hear something, it's a different experience than it's the second time or even the 150th time, especially if there's time in between. So I don't even know how we got to this topic, but I think that's the most interesting part about the process.
Well, we started with coming up with melodies, but I like this rabbit hole that we've gone down, and I'll tell you that one thing that's helped me has been like you, for example, or my roommate Manny, where when I get to that point and I feel like, all right, it's pretty much finished, and there's nothing else that I can hear that I really want to change at this point, I will have one or two other people that understand, what I'm after, the music, etc., to give it a listen to, right? And you mentioned Johnny as an example. When I thought it was good to go and I had Manny listen to it one time, and when the feedback kicks in between the verse and the chorus, he was like, that is way too loud, and my ears had been bleeding for a month straight, so I don't even hear it at that point, right? But for someone who's first listening to it, it might be kind of jarring, so we worked a way to, even it's supposed to be jarring, but not to the point where it's going to make your ears bleed. So that was something that we changed a little bit.
Yeah, and it's and also just like it's also that sometimes the sound is great, but maybe it's just one frequency that bothers them, or maybe it's just a little too loud, and you don't need to change the whole thing. You just need to lower some piece because, and also it could be that person's ears. They're different sensitivity, So I totally get that. Having a reference, someone else to tell you what they think is huge, and I love getting feedback, no matter how crappy it is. In fact, if it's just, hey, it sounds great, I'm like, you're full of shit, because I know it's not great.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
I feel you. Well, all right. So before we get into specific questions about the album, just a couple more sort of general. I noticed that the album has a bit of a house/dance feel to at least most of the tracks, in my opinion, anyway. Was that by design? Was that something that you were interested in exploring, or have you always been influenced by that kind of music? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have been influenced by that kind of music. I actually grew up listening to so when I was a kid, right? Before pre-10, I grew up listening to a lot of 80s music. Obviously it was in the 80s. But Michael Jackson, you got Roxette, you got all this European music, and my dad's music, which was influenced by 70s rock. My dad's music. So then 70s rock, then heavy metal, and then when I got into my late teens and I guess my young adulthood, I got into electronic music a lot. I had some friends that got me into it, and it just like totally got me into the sound of electronic sounds. So there's a big influence there. I got a lot of artists that I listen to. Actually, James Holden, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's like a British DJ/producer. He makes really like out there kind of stuff. But he was a huge influence on this album because what he does is he makes sounds that don't make sense make sense. And they're really good grooves and melodies and build-ups. So a lot of that stuff was a big influence on it. But to be honest with you, the reason why it's more electronic sounding is because what I did in my first album was I was trying to make it more acoustic sounding or real instruments, but let's be real, I'm working inside the box. I'm working on a computer no matter what you do, you can't make it sound like a real instrument. So I just went all in. I said, you know what? I'm working with digital. Let me make it sound digital. I embraced it and I made the most of it. That's the choice I had to make as an artist.
Okay. I feel you. All right. Well, let's move into specific bits of the song, or sorry, specific songs within the album.
Of the bits.
Yeah, of the bits.
Of the songs and the bits.
And I think a good place to start is it seems like there's a cameo on your album. There's a track called "Not as Fun," where there's a voice that I haven't heard in any of your tracks before. So do you want to talk a little bit about who that is?
It's Ray Ramos. He's a
wow. He's did he take some helium beforehand or something? Or
yep, helium. No, so I've always wanted to have vocals on all my music, but I haven't been. Hey Jasmine, come on in here. I haven't really been doing a lot of vocal coaching, so come on in.
Oh,
I actually asked Jasmine here.
Hello.
Put this on.
Okay.
My daughter to sing on that track, and this is Jasmine.
Hello.
She goes by JJ
Jasmine.
in the
Hi.
album. So when you look at the track, it'll say feature him JJ. That's JJ.
Basically, yeah.
But yeah, so asked her to sing on it, and she came up with the lyrics. She sang it. She used her own thing. I was very surprised, but amazed with her vocal chops. So
basically, how it happened is my dad gave me a song and he asked me to think of lyrics for it. So I studied it for a very long time, and then after like a few minutes, he's like, "Okay, can you please stop listening to the song and just make the lyrics up?" Okay. And so I don't remember what I first thought of, but it definitely was not the lyrics that like the official lyrics. Just the first two lines were what I remember thinking of that are still official. And basically, I was very obsessed with Billie Eilish's music at the time, so I wanted to sound like a little bit like Billie Eilish. So when I sang it, I basically tried to sound a little like yeah,
kind of
that.
kind of like dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with a little vibrato in the voice. You'll hear it like when she goes some of the words. She goes like I don't know how she did it. It's amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. And how did you come up with the "Not as Fun" specifically? Was there anything that you had in mind?
Oh, well, I didn't really have anything in mind. I was just thinking of random things. So like
Well, it rhymed.
it did. It really did. What I tried to do is like basically the original was basically about secrets and things you don't want to think of. And so like I don't
It's very
know.
dark.
It was very yeah.
It is.
It's mysterious, and it's like I feel like to me the song is about like it's all the same. It's like you live one day, you live another day. It's all the same, just a little different, right? I mean, what do you think the song is about?
Honestly, it's like you think of something that you're really scared of for a long time, and then over the days you just forget it basically. That's where the moon rises and the sun falls. It's basically like time passes by and you start to forget about the things you're scared of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Deep.
Interesting. Wow, that's
deep.
super deep. See, I definitely picked up on the dark undertones. I interpret it a little bit differently. I thought that you were saying that during the day you can forget about those things, but then when you try to go to sleep at night, they all sort of come back to you.
Yeah, it's kind of like that
each
too.
night.
That's what I deal with a lot, except since I usually am able to deal with them now, I'm not really scared anymore.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, one thing I'll say about it, at the time, Jasmine was wrestling with the idea that you do not see the color red the same way I do.
And I also thought about a lot of other things that were scary to me, like death, sicknesses, unfortunate accidents, and they were all very scary. But in the daytime, I wouldn't think of that because I'd have school, um, friends, and all of that on my shoulders. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
think about that. And then at night, when I don't have to worry about that, I would always think of the scary things.
Yeah. So that was a lot of emotion in that track because she was going through it. But I think you did a great job, babe.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, it's awesome, and you can definitely feel that emotion too in the song. It has that dark overtone as you were saying.
Thank
So
you.
great job.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah. All right.
She
was
heard
amazing.
us talking about the song, so she was like, "Is it my turn? Do you want me to come in still?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's even deeper than I imagined. You know, I thought perhaps you just like gave her a couple lyrics and she kind of, but knowing that she came up with all of it,
Yeah,
that's
well,
incredible.
the music
Um,
itself, if for when whoever's watching this, you listen to that song, it is like an underground deep house type of song where the
yeah.
focus has always been about it's the focus of the song is that really like dark kind of energy. And with the child's voice on top of it, I think just that's just what makes it so cool because there's a lot of contrast there. It's personally one of my favorite
Absolutely.
songs on the track.
Well, that brings me to my next question. Is that your favorite song on the album? Or do you have another one that you would say is your favorite? Or do you even have a
Yeah,
favorite?
of course. That is my favorite song because it has actual lyrics. Uh, but my favorite track that doesn't have lyrics is Electric Love. Electric Love is the first song that was completed, or the track that was completed for this album. This was the one that was the seed of the album, I would say. Um, so yeah, that's my favorite track.
Cool. Um, how you created the
Wait,
performances.
hold
So
on, hold on,
you
hold on. I have a
mentioned
question for
some
you.
of.
What's your favorite track?
Okay.
Oh,
Well, we're gonna get to that in a moment.
okay. All
So
right.
yeah. How you created some of the music? I understand for drums, for example, like you're programming that stuff. You're not playing it live. I assume, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that correct?
Some of it
Okay.
are loops.
Um,
Some of it is
okay.
programmed from scratch, and yeah.
Okay. Well, let's pause there because my real question is, what on the album did you program, and what, for example, did you play live on a keyboard?
Okay. Um. So, all right. So I have some instruments that are not digital. They're analog, and I love those instruments because they have their own sound that is generated by the circuitry inside the instrument, and that's it's an analog instrument. So I got this mini Korg synthesizer that has an arpeggiator and it's got all these cool functions. So that was actually there's no way to. I mean, there is a way to make it synchronous or sync with the digital stuff, but I actually ended up playing that live into the song. So not as fun as live. I should say I don't know if it's called live, but I played the synths there, and later has also me playing the synths, like some of the guitar and the piano sounds, and a few here and there, but the rest of it I would say was programmed. Um, yeah, and then there are a couple of shakers. Like I have a shaker somewhere. They go, and then a cowbell once in a while. Cowbell.
As you have
That's
to
what
have
I
that
hear.
cowbell.
Yeah.
Um, you gotta have more of it. All right. So two more specific questions about the album. Nostalgia. you talk about being brought back to a certain time, right? Bring me back to this time. What are you talking about?
I think it's the time of that sound. It's the best way I can explain it. There's like this genre of music that I really love, which is like 80s sounding music, which through research I realized it's called synthpop. So synthpop is kind of like the genre that I've been using more lately because I think it relates to this music. And I think nostalgia is about that time when that music was just coming around, and it's got those synths and like certain drum beats and patterns, and you got like the Eurodance 80s vocals, and that's what I tried to emulate in this track. I wanted to bring it back to that time when that music was really coming out. Like you can dance if you want to. So that's what I had in mind when I was like, it was like, it's that kind of song, So
Okay,
take me back to
very
that.
Cool. I didn't know if it was like a time in your, a specific time in your life, or if you were talking about music. So good to know. And then getting back to the question about my favorite track, it would be the 7 track. Or I assume it's called 7 with the number 7.
It is the 7th track also. Yeah.
Yeah. 7 even.
Even.
Saviven. The saxophone on that blew me away. And I found myself, when I first listened to your album, I was running some errands and walking down the street in Queens, and I remember listening to the album for the first time, just trying to get to know it, right? Like I said, it's like just meeting a brand new person. You don't know anything about them. I don't know anything about your album yet. And I remember I was just walking and I was like, what is this saxophone? This is incredible. Am I still on Amir's album? Like, no,
must have skipped the track.
No,
must be on to the next playlist.
Did we go to another artist now? No, I'm just kidding. But no, that really stuck out to me. I mean, the rest of the album is great. Don't get me wrong. And we've already had our own conversations about the mixing and the production, which I think is phenomenal.
Thank you.
But the sax itself, like the timbre, the melody, the emotion behind it, like I felt like that was someone really playing, right? Like that's
to break it to you.
To me. So give me the story on one of my favorite sax performances of all time. How did that come about?
And obviously we talked and prepped before we did the interview, and you said that you were going to ask me this question.
Nobody knows that, but now they do.
Well, now everybody knows. This is all pre-planned. But I thought about it, and I realized, and I remembered there is a story. So my wife, Indira, loves the sax. That's her favorite instrument. And one day I was making stuff and I'm playing her all these other songs, and she's like, hey, that's nice. And then she's like, can you make something with a sax? And I was like, that's weird. Okay. And then I was like, do I have any sounds like sax that sound like a sax? And I found it and started experimenting, and I like playing. It actually sounds pretty good, and it sounds electronic, but did a lot of processing on it and a lot of effects, and tried to make it sound natural, but without overdoing it. And then I was like, this actually sounds pretty good. So this track 7 is a gift to my wife in the album, and the reason why it's called 7 is because she and I were both born on the 7th. So she was born on October 7th. I was born on September 7th. So 7 is our number. So that's the story. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I didn't know if maybe your dad made a cameo or something on the album.
He's a violinist.
Does he? I was gonna say, does he even play saxophone?
No.
Did I just make that up in my head? Yeah.
But
right.
It's cool. But I actually, I'm in recruiting. You might be familiar.
Are you?
And I was talking to somebody, and he's a saxophonist. He's like a professional trained. I was like, dude, you got to come record on this. And he's like, for sure. And then he never came through. But then I realized that it happens a lot. Musicians are like the worst people.
Bro, we're definitely gonna hang out, record a jam or whatever. Like,
never hear back from him. Doesn't even show up. But then I realized it's a good thing they didn't, because I like that it sounds this way, and I do agree with you that it has a lot of emotion. Because, well, first of all, there was a couple of cocktails in when I was working on that track, but there were parts in that track where I keep that sax going just a little longer, so you can hear it. Like, it kind of cries in certain parts, and I every time I listen to it, it's fantastic. I love that track. That's one. I mean, I love that you love it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely my favorite, and I'm thinking that there's a part where it kind of goes away for a bit, and things quiet down, sort of dynamically, and then all of a sudden it just rips back in.
Yeah.
Just like it hits you in the feels.
I love that.
It was nice.
I think that's my favorite part about the whole experience, is giving people that feeling of satisfaction.
Yes.
because I feel
Agreed.
it when I make it.
Yeah.
I love making music because I love hearing great music, and I'm not like saying that I make great music. I'm just saying that there are times when you do something and it just sounds so satisfying, and you have that feeling of like, it's like exactly what I wanted to hear. And that's what I worked on for the entirety of this album. That's the focal point. Yeah. But thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for creating it and putting the time and energy and effort into it. All right, so now we enter into the lightning round, which is I'm going to rattle off numerous questions to you, and I want you to say the first thing that comes to mind. Don't
Jackal.
take too long to think about it. All right. So, favorite artist?
Phil Collins.
Nice. Brought you back to the 80s. Favorite album or favorite song, or both?
Favorite album would be Daft Punk, the one he did like 4 years ago. I forget the name of it. Where like Get Lucky was. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
I can't remember the name.
I'm not a big Daft Punk fan, but
So
I know the
that
track.
album
the
is
track that you're talking
freaking
about.
fantastic and big inspiration for this album. Favorite song? Changes all the time, but if I was to pick one, I would just go for. Let's go for "Dreams" by. What's her name? Fleetwood Mac. Dreams. Yeah.
I was like, is he talking about Fleetwood Mac? All right. Well,
Great song.
that's a classic. Who are your top 3 musical influences?
Well, my dad.
Okay.
Michael Jackson. And Phil Collins. Weird. There it is.
He keeps coming back. Oh, Phil.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a drummer. You can't go wrong with that. All right, we're gonna get a little silly now. Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Houston or Long Island?
Long Island. Oh crap! I'm on camera. Actually,
I mean,
well,
that was a no-win situation for you.
Yeah,
Someone was gonna get upset.
I just got happy when you said Long Island, but yeah, I'm a New York City boy. I would say. Yeah, New York City's got a special place. That's where I met you.
Yep. Absolutely.
I love Houston. Houston's great.
You got to be all diplomatic in your response.
No, what are you talking about? Dude, can I just say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dude.
Go ahead.
Food is amazing. Better than Long Island. Food is amazing. Okay. Crawfish, too, is great. But anyway.
Very nice. All right. Rock or pop?
Rock.
First Dance or the Quarantine Chronicles?
Ooh. Ooh. First Chronicles. Just I would say First Dance because it's like my baby.
There you go.
And I'm selfish. I hate me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Favorite animal?
Cat.
All right.
Feel it.
Best restaurant in New York City.
Ooh. Best restaurant in New York City. Oh, so many. The ones that's still open or the ones that are used to be open?
Just what was your favorite when you were here?
Minetta Cafe. It was like in the Village. They had like the most ridiculous. It's called it was like a burger. It was amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
Look it up.
What's the first thing you notice when you meet someone? Meet someone for the first time.
Handshake.
Their handshake. Okay. David Bowie or Freddie Mercury?
Freddie Mercury.
Oh, didn't even hesitate on that one.
That's easy.
All right. Most underrated artist, in your opinion, obviously.
You.
Well, thanks for that. All right. Now, switching it up, who's the most overrated artist?
Overrated artist. Katy Perry.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Kind of basic pop.
Yeah, I just don't know if she sings really good. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm sure she's a fine singer, but
sorry,
to
Katy.
the extent that. Yeah.
Sorry, baby.
All right. And continuing down the artist path, if you could collaborate with any artist in the world, who would that be?
I could collaborate with any artist in the world.
Like your dream artist.
I don't know if that's the same thing though. You know who?
That you would want to collaborate. Sorry.
You know, yeah. You know what? Paul McCartney. Yeah. Because I think Paul McCartney is like his music, he keeps putting out new albums. He just put out a new one. And he always tries new things and he's always experimenting stuff and he's always got the best gear. And I just feel like I could have fun with that.
Very cool. All right. Well, that completes the lightning round. So to wrap it up, why don't we start with some shout outs? Is there anyone that you would like to mention or thank or just shout out generally?
Yeah. Well, I want to shout out you because you've been with us since the beginning. You know, you and I have been hanging out for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, we always talk about music and always help each other. I think that is so valuable to me, and I really appreciate you so much for it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you as
well.
Yeah.
Lewis, you remember Lewis? I still talk to him.
Yeah. I still chat with him.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What's up, Lewis? He taught me a lot of tricks, you know, back in the day in the studio. My dad, big shout out. He taught me a lot of tough love, a lot of lessons of, you know, all those times he would be like, "This sucks." Back to the drawing board. Back to the drawing board.
It hurts, but it's so necessary,
it's like,
right?
How about this? Still sucks.
Yeah. Still sucks.
Okay.
Keep working. And in about 10 years, come back to me. And you'll start to make something decent at that point. Yeah.
You should stick to recruiting.
Oh, sorry. This isn't a therapy session, Amir.
Oh, okay. Let's see. God, I feel like I'm going to leave people out. You know, Dr. Dre, No, I don't know him. But, I got people like there's Jessica Fazley, someone I met when I moved to Houston. She's been cool. She actually recorded a song with me, Come Fly With Me, which I'll be remastering and re-releasing later. But there's her. There's Mike Baker,
Baker. What's up, Baker?
He's probably not watching. He's like hiding under a tinfoil hat. But, I would say those folks, my wife, just, letting me hide in my studio for hours, calling me at like 3 a.m. Like, get to bed. I'm like,
the real MVP.
Yeah, oh my God. Jasmine, obviously, with this track.
Yeah.
And then just a lot of friends who like my music. I think you know who you are. Like, I know that I reach out to you, I share music with you, and you listen to it, and you give me feedback, and you tell me you love it, even though I know it sucks. But when it's good, you tell me for real that it's good, and I love that. So I appreciate all those folks.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Well, and the last question from me is, what's next?
Actually, I'm going to challenge myself next. As I mentioned before, I don't think that my singing is all up to par. So I've been listening to songs by Justin Bieber. I've been listening to songs by other artists, like even The Weeknd. I feel like they have really good vocals. And I've been studying how they're singing. I just feel like they do a lot of, a lot of these. So I'm going to dissect that, and I'm going to focus on that. I think my next album is going to have all vocals tracks, like actual songs. I think my next thing is going to be songs. Yeah. Oh, one more shout out. Mike P and Mike L for getting me back into music a couple years ago, because they asked me to make music for their app for a game. They were making an iPhone game. So they're like, hey, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. And then they paid for this keyboard, and I started making music for their game, and that's actually what got me back into music and got me to make my first album. So big shout out to those guys.
Wow. Huge shout out to Mike L and Mike
Huge
P.
shout out. Great game too. Great games.
Yeah.
They make a lot of games. Yeah.
Do you want to shout out their game company so everyone can go check it out?
Yeah, they'll kill me if it's like Mike P and Mike L Productions. Oh.
Just look them up, Mike P and Mike L. You'll find them.
We'll put it in.
Right?
We'll put it in the comments section. How about that?
All right, it'll
in
be
the comments. There you go. Yeah, comments. Check out the comments.
Sorry, that was my bad for putting you on the spot.
Hey, why not?
All right. Well, now I'm going to give you an opportunity to say if there's anything else that you want to say to anyone, or even just anything else that you want to talk about. The floor is yours. If not, we can wrap it up.
All right. Yeah. Shut it down. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. What I guess the only thing I want to say is what I think about when I make music. And when I make music, I think about all the people in my life, because I wonder how they would like or not like this music. So if you're watching this, I want you to know that chances are, you were in my thoughts when I was making the music. I thought about styles and genres. I know some people like hip hop, some people like dance music, some people like rock, and all those things are in my mind, top of mind. And I try to make music that kind of fits genres and make I know that even though you may not like this genre, I still think you like the song. And I think about that stuff, and I make my music for my audience, and keeping my audience in mind, while at the same time making music that I love. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just want that out there, that when I make music, I think about others, and and try to get them to like it and feel good listening to it.
I mean, music is ultimately a communal experience, right? That's the sole purpose of music, is to connect from one person to the next. So, of course, you're going to stay authentic and true to yourself, but your end goal is as you mentioned before, you want someone to have a certain type of
Mm,
feeling or a certain type of response to it,
yeah,
right? Um, and I mean, just going back to the origins of music, it's always been a sort of community thing and been about expression of the self, but for the greater good and for the community. So
for sure,
you're staying true to
for
that.
sure.
Yeah. And I'll just say, as someone who, obviously you and I are friends, but if I didn't like it, I would be honest with you. And as someone who doesn't really listen to or spend a lot of time with that style of music, I very much enjoyed it. So I think you accomplished your goal, in my
Well,
opinion.
thank you for saying that, because you were definitely one of those people that I was thinking about. So, yeah, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, the album is out now everywhere. So great job,
Thank you.
Amir. And we're looking forward to the third album. Do any thoughts on what it's going to be called yet, or is there any sort of preview you want to give the folks, or have we started it?
Nah, man, no, not at all. I have not even thought about it. But I'm just focusing. I'm just like done with this. When you're finished with a piece of art and you're done with it, I don't know about you, but there's a sense of like, it's kind of like a weird feeling. You don't know how to feel about it. You're kind of sad that you're done with it, but you're also kind of excited that you're done with it. And because it's like a part of you that's out there and it's done. It's like growing up. It's like a baby. So, and then if you don't get a lot of listens, kind of depressing. It's like, what am I doing this for? But if you do get a lot of people talking about it, then it feels good. So I'm at this point where I'm just gonna let this album live on its own and keep feeding off of that energy. And then when I'm ready, when it's time, just go. Get going. But I hope we can collaborate. I want to collaborate with you on the next album, that's for sure. Cuz I need some live recording, and I think you're an amazing artist, so I would love to work with you. Let's do it together.
Absolutely. I'm down to record
Absolutely, let's go.
anytime. I just to continue on that thought though, before we wrap up, I feel like after you spend all that time putting something together, marketing, putting it out there, it's almost like you need a little bit of a break, like a breather, and let yourself get inspired again. It's to me, it's like you're going like full throttle to get it done, and then you kind of just need a 5 minute
You need to
breather
recharge your
afterwards.
creative batteries, and just kind of step away. You need to do it. It's amazing, right? Like the creative process it's hard to explain it. Um,
Yeah, it's therapeutic, but it's simultaneously so
it's almost like
taxing.
you're always
So
chasing
it's
to complete a project, because they always say like most artists don't complete projects, and most musicians they want to be famous but they never get an art thing out. But when you do get it out, you feel kind of like there's like an emptiness. There's like, oh, I did it, but wow, it's just a surreal feeling. And I think it's because you invest so much of yourself into it. Like I know you put so much of yourself into every song you put out, and it hurts when people don't recognize it. It hurts when people don't listen to it, and I think it's on us to recover from that. As artists, being an artist is a tough thing because you don't make money. We're not doing this for money. We're doing this for the creative process, and hopefully somebody likes it. Somebody's like, "Ah, man, I love your jam," and that's better than money. So, yeah, man, I'm just gonna chill.
yeah, it's like you said, that's where you're going for. You're going for that reaction, that connection, um, And, again, not to beat a dead horse, but you did a great job. So well-earned rest and reprieve before you get started on the third album. So congrats on the sophomore release. And tell the folks again the name of the album, where they can get it, all that fun stuff.
The name of the album is Sound SpaceTime with a comma. I don't know why I did the comma, but there's a comma. So Sound, SpaceTime by Amir Ilyasov. You can ask Alexa to play it for you, but she'll probably tell you need Amazon Premium, which I don't know why. But you can find it on Amazon, Spotify, all the different things. Or if you want to listen to some stuff, just call me. I'll send you a link. There you go. We'll put it in the comments.
There you go.
We'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, we'll put everything's going in the comments.
We should transcribe this whole meeting, put it all in the comments.
Yeah.
And
Watch us do it. Well, sorry. Anything else
thank you for doing
say?
this. I know this is exciting because I think this forum of interviewing artists and having them tell the story is really awesome, because a lot of people don't, like, you listen to music, you're like, whatever, okay, sounds great, but if you hear the story, it's actually kind of interesting, and I appreciate you doing this, and I wish you lots of luck with it.
Thank you. Well, this is only the beginning, and for those of you who are hearing this for the first time, this is 46th and Broadway with Amir Ilyasov, and cheers, brother, and congrats.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And with that, we'll wrap it up. So let's get going. Everyone go check out Amir's new album. Let him know what you think of it. I'm sure you're going to like it.
Wait a minute. I forgot. You got to go to AmirIlyasov.com. Go to AmirIlyasov.com. You'll get the links. It'll be in the comments. All right.
Yeah.
Cheers. See you later.
All righty.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.